Hey, well, welcome to Carnival Real Estate's first coaching. We're going to be going through a series of videos that you're going to watch. There will usually be some homework assigned, and then you're going to get back together with your mentor or your coach that you've been assigned with to work through that and see if you have any questions. This has been put together really over just years. I think I've been doing this 15 years now, and I started out and there was really not much help. When you get in, you're going to find out that realtors don't like to share their secret sauce. And so I started building this myself. I paid for coaching. And over time I grew. I did a few years ago 61 transactions in a year, built up a team, and I was doing it all part-time. So now I'm just trying to put this together into something that works for our area and will allow us to go through and help you in your path to be a successful realtor in whatever capacity that may be. So let's jump in. This is the first series, and we're going to just look at this welcome to new agent coaching. And it's going to be a little bit of business plan and a little bit just sort of walking through some of those things. So let's start with some goals. So what do we start with? You got to start with goals. You got to figure out, what is it that I really want out of this? Am I part-time? Am I full-time? Am I looking to make 100,000 this year? I'm gonna be happy with 30,000. Whatever that may be in your first year, as you get going, you need to understand what your goals are. And then once you figured out your goals, we'll start building on that with your knowledge base. How do you do things, and what's the proper way to do contracts? And those are what we'll call mechanical skills, things like contracts and paperwork. And then also you've got the other side of things, like how do I geofarm, or how do I join a business networking group, and so we're going to work through that. We'll also then build skill sets. Skill sets would be more things like, how do I script? How do I call a new buyer lead? How do I call an expired? What do I say? How do I do a listing presentation? And finally, we're going to look at systems. Systems are the computer software tools, programs, the MLS, all those things that at the top help you with getting your skills and understanding the things you know to meet your goals, right? So it's sort of, we need to build on top of each of these things. So this is a couple months, maybe 1 to 2 months will take to get through the sort of set class stuff, if you will, the set coaching sessions. Then after that, we'll be able to meet up and just talk. Hey, how are things going? I've got this situation. What should I do? And we do those in groups as well, so other people can take advantage of what you may be struggling with in a transaction, or perhaps, what somebody else is learning. So let's dive in and look. It's always fun to look at statistics, the statistics that are against you. Say that really fast a few times. First, 87% of new agents don't last 5 years, and I pulled this from a number of sources, and they were all right in that range, some upwards of 90% and some a little bit lower, so I sort of went with the middle. Brokerages stink. We already talked about that earlier. Either other agents don't want to help you out, they don't want to explain how to do things, they just charge a lot of fees. Whatever it may be, they don't give leads, or they're giving you 30-35% total on all these deals that you're doing, up to maybe they give you more percentage, 70-80%, or some flat fee brokerage, but then they're not really giving you the training. What else? Extra expenses. Yeah, so you know this already. You get your license, you go through the class, you take the test, then there's fingerprints, and then you mail things off, and then you pay the state to move your license. Then you have to join the board of realtors and pay MLS dues and buy signs and get business cards. And it just sort of goes on and on and on. There's just a lot of fees and a lot of cost every year. You get these leads. What do you do with these leads? How do you talk to them? What do you say on the phone? How do you get from point A to point B with them? It's like you're calling, but you just can't get to one wanting you to show houses or to work with you. Or you call, you think things are going well, and the next thing you know, they've decided to buy with somebody else. Ramping up can be slow. It depends on your sphere of influence. You're going to hear that word a lot, or see it, SOI, sphere of influence, or COI, center of influence. You'll see both of those. And so it can just be a slow ramp up to get to a full-time status. Additionally, licensure is easy, right? Take 80 hours, go take a test, versus like cosmetology, 1,200 hours to get licensed. So because of that, there's a lot of realtors in the business, and right now the market's booming. So that means there's a lot of people in the business and they're wanting to get their licenses. You know, if you're not a self-starter in this business, it is tough. There's no boss. You get on some big teams and maybe there is. It says you have to be here at 8 and leave at 5. But generally speaking, in real estate, you're an independent contractor. You work when you want, how you want, where you want. I don't hold your feet to the fire. So you're going to have to get out and be a self-starter. Additionally, time management is just, okay, what do I do first? You can spin your wheels making pretty websites, but that's not calling people. So where do I focus my time and energy to get the biggest return on my investment? So just working smart. Maybe you struggle a little bit with the people skills, and that's learned. We can work on those things, and maybe you could be a little short. You might not be descriptive. You might need to learn some of these things, and those are all things we can work through. Some folks don't like the phone. There's a lot of phone calling that goes on in real estate. So you got to learn to get over that and jump on that cell phone and go. And the other side is they might be technology or technically challenged. Meaning, wow, it's just a lot of websites and go here and I got to remember 100 passwords and I forget one and I have to reset it and I don't know what I'm doing, and that can be really difficult. And my coaching does not focus on that. Those are things that if you need through the MLS, you may need to go to the MLS to get help. If it's .loop, say, they have a great help group to go through, and they have YouTube videos galore to go learn about that system. So that being the case, you're going to have to go step out and look for those things. We have our agent handbook that I put a lot of time into, and that will point you in the right direction. So remember, your first thing to do if you have questions during coaching or during a sale is go to that agent handbook and read through that. Then go ask your coach or mentor. And there's just a lot of advertising confusion in the social media world. You're going to get sucked into all the marketing and people sending you emails, and we're going to send you leads, and on it goes, and you can end up spending just a lot of money and time. So don't be a statistic, and let's press through and learn how to sell some real estate. So real estate goal. What you talking about, Willis? I thought I was just here to sell some real estate, and like you're going to show me what to do and we're going to take off. Why do we need goals? Well, you can't really make money consistently in real estate unless you have a plan, and you really need a plan to get going and learn how to approach this big game with a lot of players that have been doing this for a long time. So, and transitioning that goal helps because you can take, I want this, and we can break it down into small chunks, and then you start here and you take just a few steps every day, and the next thing you know, you're at your goal. So it doesn't seem as overwhelming when we do it that way. And we're going to start by doing a business plan. And so what is a business plan? Well, business plan is, here's some screenshots, and we're going to go through this together, and I'm going to show you how to fill it in. And this is going to be your homework. So your first session will be to go through this business plan. So here in a second, you might want to go ahead and pause the video, go to the agent handbook, download the business plan, and have it printed out. Come back to the video, and you can just stop me as we walk through it and start filling in things. And you're gonna pencil it in, get your calculator, and we're just gonna work through this together. And then you will bring this, and the first time you meet with your coach or mentor, and you're going to walk through this together with them and see if you have any questions, and just make sure it looks realistic. So that will be our plan as we get going through here. So we are going to jump in and get started on that right now. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, or you might want to pause the video, and we'll be right back here in just a second, and we'll be ready to go on what is a business plan. All right, so here we go. Up on the screen, you should have printed out now in front of you this business plan. It's an Adobe file. You download it, print it out. It should have blanks in here, but I'm going to have some numbers for you, as you can see, and we're just going to walk through it. So this is in Google Sheets, and I use a lot of Google because it's free and multiple people can jump in, but it's like Excel. And we're going to walk through these numbers to sort of explain what everything means. So here, if you had already been doing some real estate, like say next year you come in, you could plug in your total transactions, what your total volume was, and your gross commission income. And so you could plug those things in. Volume would be like total sales of the actual property. So if you sold 4 $100,000 properties, you would have sold, your volume would be $400,000. Transactions are exactly what it sounds like, and your gross commission income is based off typically 3%, but sometimes you give a little bit less. Sometimes you have to negotiate and come off your commission some. So that's actually what your total gross commission income is. So average sales price, if you don't know that, then we're going to plug in right now. Currently with this market, the average sales price is $255,000 per home. And we're just using that from the current Huntsville Area Association of Realtor average. So here, that's what we've entered in this. And then that would mean based off of like an 80% of that commission, because that's what you get here. And so I'm trying to give you real numbers. So you don't get the full 3%, right? It comes in, and then a portion of that stays with the company, 20%, and then you get 80%. So this is what's left over. So here's your first goal that we want to look at. What do you want to make? So I put down, I'd like to make $75,000 my first year. And so you need to think through that. You might start lower at 30. I just want to do a little bit. I'd be so pleased to make 30 or 50. That's great. Go for it. Then what this tells us is based off these two numbers, based off your average GCI. And once you build your own up next year, this average will become based off of your current sales instead of the market, because the market looks at everything from $1 million properties down to $150,000 properties, right? And so we're just going to take that as a placeholder, but next year this will become fine-tuned for you. So we look at that, and that says we need 12 transactions to get us to 75,000. That doesn't sound too bad based off the averages. And let's look at these light blue. What we're going to look at is based off of listings. We're going to say about a third of your sales may come from listings the first year. So that's 4. And then down here, you'll go put 2/3, that would be 8, would be off of buyers. So 8 plus 4 is your 12. All right. Now let's look at, these are statistics taken from realtors and how the market works. So if you were to take 4, you need to sell 4 homes, list 4 homes and complete those transactions. About 80% of your homes, of your listings will close. So if you started with 5, you would get 4 that closed. So we need 5 listings this calendar year or in the next 12 months to meet your goal. Now, same thing down here with buyers. You're going to sort of see that the similar number happens here with this, that, and listing appointments taken here. What that means is of listing appointments, you can say if I took 8 listing appointments, about 2/3 of those would end up listing with me once you've been through our training and do listing appointments the way that I show you, because you're going to compete with other agents. So what we really need now is not 5, but 8 listing appointments that you go on. And we're going to end up needing down here 12 buyers you work with, because about 2/3 of them will close, about 1/3 won't. And those are very low, so the worst case scenario. So between these, you could look at and say, I need, if you're going to add up these numbers and sort of figure out what you need right here, that's 12. The total transaction goal you see is 21. So what that's looking from is going to be the number of buyers you've worked with and the number of the listing ones. So we're going to change this here to 20. And because you're trying to get 8 listing appointments scheduled, right? And you're trying to get 12 buyers that you're working with. So let's change this number to 20, and you would put that in on your spreadsheet. Now you'll see here that here with this 1,200, what does that come from? Right here on the right, you'll see that, and this is statistically telling us that we've looked across the country at different realtors and averages based off of the numbers and research that I've done and what other coaches show, is that for you to get 1 referral, and that may be somebody you sit down and just have a meeting with, you're going to have to call or contact 20 people. So now you've got 1 referral. Well, it takes about 3 referrals to get to 1 actual closing. So of the 3 people I talk to, 1 will actually move to a closing. So that tells us here that we're going to need 1,200 conversations in a year to get to my goal of this 12 plus this 8 for 20 total meetings or transactions that people say, yes, I want to work with you as a buyer, and listings that we get to work with. So, and we're also taking this number a little bit high, because remember, we really only need 5 listings, but we're going to say we need to talk with 8 people and sit down and have the opportunity for 8. Again, I'm always going to take worst case scenario. So of that 1,200, now what we want to do is go down to this next line, and you're going to divide that by 48, because that's 48 weeks you're going to work every year. So if you look at 52 weeks in a year, we're going to give you 4 weeks off for vacation that you don't do anything, and that leaves you with every day or every week that you work, you want to do 25 conversations. So let's break that down to a daily goal. Your daily goal would be divide that by 5, because we're going to take off Saturday and Sunday if we can. Of course, those may be out showing people, but we're going to look at 5 conversations that you need to have every day. So this is an hour of power, and we're going to talk about that in one of the next coaching courses. Just remember that word. It's super important. We base a lot around this, that you're going to have an hour of power, and we count one day worked by 1 hour of power. So if you have your hour of power every day, that's a day worked, even if you don't do anything else. And our hour of power here in this case is only having 5 conversations. So you need to call somebody in your sphere of influence, call an expired, call a lead, but have 5 conversations, knock on a door. So your goal every day is to have 5 conversations. And let me tell you, email doesn't count, and texts are only so-so. We need to get folks on the phone, we need to talk with them, or sit down at Starbucks and have a meeting. So remember that. We need 5 a day in this scenario. All right, here, business plan. Again, we talked about your goals in general. I recommend you sit down and write up your business goals. Write up your personal vision and your professional vision. So these are just maybe what you'd like to do with real estate, what that goal is to keep in mind, right? Because this bases off everything that you want to do. Personal vision, maybe other areas you want to grow outside of real estate. It may be church related. It may be books you want to read. It may be just some other things that are going on. So we're going to have those type goals in here for you to look at. And professional vision is more skill sets and things like that that you might want to grow in. So here's 5 key areas. Let's break this down. When you think about that, what are some 5 key areas for my business as I grow it? And that may be scripting. I really need to understand scripts. I really want to understand how to work with buyers. I really want to understand whatever that may be. And then, this just helps to put down some goals that you want to master personally as well. All right, now let's jump into this. This is where we start breaking this down into even smaller goals. So we said earlier we want 20 deals. So you can scroll down here to the bottom, total sales that we get. So now we're looking at the actual sales. And we said we wanted 8 and 4, which is a total of 12. So where are those 12 going to come from? Remember, we said worst case scenario, we're going to try to talk to 20 people. But let's dive into this and realize that from my referrals, my sphere of influence, I'd like to have 1 seller and 1 buyer. And we're just setting goals right now. This tells us where to focus our time. Mega open houses, I want to get 2 buyers out of doing open houses. Geo farming, I'd like to get 3 total transactions, a seller and a buyer. And then from Real Geeks to company leads, I'd like to get 4, 3 buyers and 1 seller. And then expired listings, I'd like to get 1 more listing out of that closes. So that gives me, and then over here on the right, what you're doing is what needs to change. So, here we're diving in and saying, I want to farm my clients after a few of them close. I need to work other agents' listing appointments. You're just sort of writing a high level what needs to happen to get to these spots over here on the right. And that breaks down and shows us our 8 and 4 of actual closings to give us 12. So now then, just thinking through, let's scroll back up, these systems, right? We're looking through referral, sphere of influence, mega open houses, geo farming, Real Geeks, and expires. And of course, there's many others. You can look through here and Google those, or talk to your mentor, your coach on this, and just say, hey, what do you think would work for me? And think through that, and we can dive into some of those specifically to help you out. If you love getting online and doing Google ads, then that may be a place you want to go, is farm yourself some Google ads. So anyway, just working through that. Now we break this down a little bit further. Let's just look at one, and you can read these on your own later. Sphere of influence. And, again, feel free to pause this as you think and write and read, back up, whatever you need to do. So our sphere of influence, we're trying to get 2 transactions this year. So what do I need to do? I need to set up my contacts in my phone. I need to do some coaching, and understand how to build a sphere of influence. I need to rate these contacts from an A to a C, A, B, or C, and then I need to start walking through my phone contacts, and these go into my 5 conversations a day. So every day I'm going to start chipping away at my contacts and calling them. And here's the great part, it doesn't involve anybody else, it's just me, and it's free, so jump in. Real Geek leads, maybe you want to work those. So you begin calling the free Carnival leads. And remember, these are free ones that I pay for up front to provide you to work. And then you're doing the follow-ups regularly during your daily hour of power. Perhaps you want a geofarm, so you need to pick a subdivision near you. And you're going to begin sending out mailers, maybe knocking on doors. In the summer, you might do a snow cone truck at the HOA pool. You could work expires, mega open houses. These are just some more examples. All right, so now let's break it down. Here we are in September. So in September, I'm going to start my Real Geek leads, and I'm going to build out my database. Next month, I'm going to begin working that sphere of influence. November, I want to start doing mega open houses, working with some other agents. I'm going to add a skill to my list of skills. In December, I don't want to add anything new except redo my business plan for the next 12 months. I always recommend doing that in December and starting in January. January, my goal would be still to do expireds. That may change in December. Maybe February, I want to join a BNI group. And March, and I'm just sort of looking out forward. I'll have this filled in a little bit better. I've got 3 or 4 months under my belt, but this is just an example of what you might do. So that's the beginning and end of what we would be looking at here for building out the first few pages. Now you'll notice that there's a few other pages, and let me pull those up for you. And there's a calculator in case we needed it, but we didn't. So let's look at this. This is also in your business plan, and what we have here is what I would call it's your daily tracker, and this is simply a one page that you have of a calendar for the whole year. You'll notice it's all on 1 year, and the goal is you are check marking I did an hour of power. So you just print this sucker out. It's one of them that stays with you, and you just start check marking, yes, I did an hour of power. That was my 5, in our example, 5 conversations. So every day that you do that, you start check marking it. Now at the end of the month, all you got to do is come over here to the other page that you see, and we're in September. So you're going to come over here into September, and you are going to start working through and putting numbers down. How many days did I work this month? Because remember, that needs to go back to how did I do on my business plan. I had a plan, I had a goal. Did I do what I said I was going to do? How many hours of power did I work? Did I call, sort of break it down a little bit further if you want? Was it sphere of influence that I called? What else do we have here? I'm looking over at it. It could be expireds, the mail outs, those type things. But really the top ones are the most important here. You really want to do, did I do my hours of power? Am I keeping up each month? And this just sort of helps you understand your progress as you go. All right, that's the first one. Remember, go over to the agent handbook. You're going to find this, this business plan. You're going to download the business plan, work through this and bring it. And then you need to reach out to your mentor and set up your first meeting with them to walk through this. And there may be a couple of you. Usually the mentors may have 2 or 3 they're working with, so they're going to meet together and just answer questions from wherever you're at in the process. All right, we'll look forward to this, and of course you can give feedback directly to me, or if you want to your mentor and coach to help out with that. All right, again, I hope this goes great, and looking forward to seeing how you're doing. We'll talk to you in about a week with the next video you'll be going through. Thanks.